Hey, what's up? Welcome, gamers, streamers, and dreamers, to another episode of GQAzndood Gaming Academy. I'm your host, GQAzndood, and we're about to dive into this other epic episode of all things gaming, whether you're tuning in live or catching this later on a VOD. Thanks for joining the Academy, where we break down the best and sometimes the mess of the gaming world. In tonight's episode, we're packed with gaming goodness. Here's what we got lined up for tonight. First, we're kicking things off with a special This Week in Gaming History. And next, we'll be catching up on last week's biggest news articles because we had a really fun packed episode. And we're going to be unpacking all the hot takes and updates that you may have missed. Also, we're excited to introduce a brand new segment to the show called The Tech. Hosting this segment is none other than Blazing Ace Nelson. He's so hot I can't even pronounce his name right. He'll be bringing you the best strategies, advice, and techniques to master tonight's featured game on newly released Dynasty Warriors Origins. Whether you're on the battlefield, a rookie, or a Muso master, well, stay tuned tonight. It's going to be awesome. And finally, tonight, in this Now Playing segment, we'll be covering a little bit of the A to Z Gaming Challenge. Hopefully, you have your queued up list for your A to Z Gaming Challenge as well for 2025. It's a unique way to explore games from A to Z, and I'll be sharing that where it's coming tonight and soon. But before we get started, let me introduce to my amazing co-host for tonight, which is up here in the back show, which I'll let in right now. First one here is Mr. Nick. How are you, buddy?
Doing well, man. How about you?
I'm doing
So
good. I'm
excited
doing
tonight.
I'm pretty. I ate a lot of sugar,
Yeah.
and I'm ready to go. Nick here, aka Tragically Elite, is the mastermind behind all the news articles and insider information that we cover. Nick, how's your week been, man?
It's been all right. It's been pretty busy for me. I know we had a great show last week, so I'm glad that we're gonna tackle back into a couple of those articles just because there's a couple fun things to talk about. But I mean, beyond that, just trying to get a little bit deeper into the couple games that I'm playing right now. So hopefully you're doing the same, not putting it off, not adding to that backlog.
I've already gone through 3 games on my A to Z list, so I'm 3 games down on my 26. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
Are
So.
you going in order like ABC, or are you
No,
jumping and just marking off the
I
list?
am marking it off the list because I think it's good to get all those smaller titles out of the way.
Yeah.
And there's some titles where I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to play this anymore because it's not great. So,
Or
yeah.
in the case of me, I picked a game like Metaphor, and that's not a game you finish in 60 hours even.
Correct, and I think what I'm doing too is I'm actually trying to get that list cleared off so I can focus on the trilogy of AKA Mass Effect. So I
Yeah,
know
because that was your big M1, right? You're doing
that
the
is
trilogy.
that is the M hit list, the hit list for the M. So speaking of hit list, we got also the legend himself, Blazing Ace Nelson, here on chat. What up, dude? How's it going? I know you've been busy, but
Yes, I have.
I know you're ready to bring the heat tonight with the tech. So give us a little bit of insider on that.
All right. So, for those that have been keeping up with my streams and just following me on Twitter, specifically, as I'm sure you all know, I was lucky enough to receive a review code from Koei Tecmo USA to preview Dynasty Warriors Origins. I've been streaming it. Like, I started streaming it literally like yesterday, pretty much damn near when the embargo lifted. I was like, all right, let's go.
I'm
So
down.
I've been
You
so
got a
I've been
timer there.
The
just
resident Muso master.
That's
yep.
him.
So yeah, I've just been digging into the early part of the game. I'm only in chapter 2 right now, but there's a lot there to unpack. But what I plan to do for the tech is basically to give the class, uh, a rookie's field training guide, as it were. Get you accustomed to the systems again, and then show off a little bit of what's new compared to previous games, as well as get you, a quick refresher on the first weapon that you'll be working with in the game, so that way you can hit the ground running.
Exactly. So what I'm looking forward to tonight is pretty much kind of covering that, and excited to kind of like what else you'll be bringing to the table with the tech. And so I'm looking forward to that because I'm a big fan of like fighting game like tutorials and stuff like that. So we're going to be covering a variety of different things. And as always, we want to hear from you, chat. Whether you're here live or dropping comments later, share your thoughts, memories, and hot takes. We're all about the community. And so if you got something to contribute as far as your experience with certain things that we'll be talking about throughout time, please feel free to hit in the chat and let us know. So other than that, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it.
Heck yeah, here we go.
All right. So as always, we start off with this week in gaming history. So the first one that I wanted to cover here was NFL Street. Just because I feel like we don't cover a lot of sports games, I don't want to be biased, right? But NFL Street was one of the most fun sports games I've ever played, aside from NFL Blitz. I feel like that's the given. NFL Blitz is the given, right?
Mhm.
But Street took it to like the next level where it's like the graphics were just a little bit better, the animations were a lot cleaner, and we took it from the field to the streets, NFL Street, right?
Well, I mean, that's just the way it is. I feel like with arcade sports games in general. NFL Blitz is the given for football. NBA Jam is the given for basketball. But then EA Sports came through with the big branding, and they brought us NBA Street Volume 1 through 3, and NFL Street and FIFA Street as well.
That's right. Well, okay,
and SSX Tricky.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true.
Which was my jam.
So here's the thing: they brought Street for football. What was the basketball one called?
That was Street as well.
NBA Street, right?
Yeah, and they
Okay.
did FIFA Street as well.
Okay,
Like,
so it's
Street
just
was
Street.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, also EA, what is up, man? Right now is the best time to bring the big back to the streets. I'm telling you. Everyone's tired of Madden. They want a different game, and this is one way to kind of revitalize the NFL, the FIFA, and all those games that you pull out every year to something different. And I think like having your best character and caricature of your character right now would be fun, especially if you made a creative character on this. People would just be making characters all over the place playing sports. I think that's a really good one to do. So I don't know if you guys agree on that. I think NFL Street or EA Big needs to come back bigly. That's all I'm saying.
Without question.
Yeah, and for me, it was like definitely the SSX series was what I got down on mostly. I didn't play a lot of like the NBA NFL Street. I remember they also did like NFL Tour was another one that they did, was kind of like an offshoot of that. It was still under the Big label. Didn't yeah. Oh, Big also had Def Jam Vendetta as well.
Yeah, that's right.
The game that will never be remade ever again. It's too expensive.
And don't forget, they got rid of Street. What are you going to do with motocross? Freak style.
Freaks. Oh, that was a big title also?
Yeah, freak style.
Dang,
Okay.
man. So I feel like all those like they conquered all those specific genres in sports, and then they've like distributed the wealth back to like different other companies. Like who right now, like Monster is like covering all the motocross stuff, right? I forgot MX Motocross, I think, right? Is that company? And then like they're still doing the usual Madden and FIFA. They're not even calling it FIFA anymore. They're calling it Football Club now, I think. And then the snowboarding stuff went to Ubisoft with Steep. So it's I don't know if it was a good choice or not, or if they just decided to go in a different direction. But man, I think if the industry needs to revitalize right now in its sports section, Big needs to come back. That's all I got to say about that.
Big label. Got to bring back the Attitude Era.
Right?
Yeah.
Bigly. Absolutely. A few other noteworthy titles to come out today on the 13th was Worms 2 on the PC back in 1998. Man, the first one was kind of rough, but the second one really did it for me. So that was a really good title. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. There was also a Game Boy version. Was it the only Game Boy version that came out that day?
Yeah, because
okay.
the original Baldur's Gate was before that, but they brought out Dark Alliance for the Game Boy.
Gotcha.
Which was crazy because I remember like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 super popular on the PS2. Those were hard to get a hold of.
Yeah. And I remember like they were different because like if you got Baldur's Gate on the PC, it was like a turn-based strategy game, but Dark Alliance in the PS2 and the consoles were like an action RPG. So that was a confusing thing. So
well, I feel like especially like from the PS2 backward, that was one of the big things that stood out in early gaming, was how the same game on a different platform would be an entirely different beast from one another.
Mm.
Gotta get
Yeah,
that
I mean,
get it on just different consoles.
yeah, like remember, and that was a big thing in like the era of like 16-bit, right? Was it an arcade port, or they ported over differently because they weren't able to kind of emulate the arcade experience, right?
Yeah.
So
which still again just makes me wonder how the hell Capcom managed to cram Street Fighter Alpha 2 onto a Super NES
I'm
cartridge.
telling you, man. Hey, Vengeful, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. Hope you're having a good day. Welcome to the stream as well. Appreciate you. And then the other title that I feel like it's gotten overshadowed, just like Mordor, was the Lord of the Rings Conquest on the DS, PC, 360, and PS3 back in 2009. For those that don't know much about Lord of the Rings Conquest, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like the Battlefront, but with a Lord of the Rings skin on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
that's such a great idea, and I don't know why they haven't pursued that. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
license thing.
I think in part it's the license, because for a while there, remember, the only thing we really got were and still going strong, Lord of the Rings Online, and then we got the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games, and then that's all we've really seen, minus some offshoots like there's that survival game, The Return to Moria, that's
Right. Yep.
happening right now.
And isn't there a new one that's like a farm simulator that's coming up with like you're in the Shire?
Oh yeah, the Shire one,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait,
and I think there was
what?
talk about
Yeah.
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, which honestly, I mean, take something like Animal Crossing or something like
Or Harvest Moon and or
but
Cozy
yeah,
games are
Valley?
in, baby. That's what they're.
Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, but do it with like realistic graphics and set in like the Shire. Like
Star
there's you can do
Stardew
something fun
Shire.
with that. Stardew Shire, yeah.
Andrew coming in hot with the sixth gen gave us a lot of iconic games and franchises that stood the test of time. That means sixth gen was a competitive space, and I felt like each console and each company tried their very best to stand out as much as possible, for sure. And that's why we have games that stood the test of time. All right, on to the next and the 14th. All right, so my choice for this on 14th was the Fallout game Brotherhood of Steel. Speaking of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, this was pretty much the same concept, an action RPG with the Fallout, in the universe, with a little bit of what do you call this? It wasn't melee, but there's a little bit of shooting action in there as well. But same concept where you have armor, it's an action RPG. Um, and it's like one of the Fallout games that people don't talk about, honestly, just because it's not like your standard Fallout game.
Hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed this game. It was like, well, the brother of this game was that EverQuest game, Champions of Norath, right? So this was the Fallout version of that game, and I fell in love with this game. And this game is kind of like hard to find, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't super popular when it first came out because it was such a like change from what everyone knew from the original couple
yeah.
Fallouts. And this was also, if I remember right, was it only on the Xbox?
It was. I think it was also on the PS2. Because I did
Okay.
play it on the PS2 as well.
Okay.
And keep in mind, and Andre will probably agree with me here, but on the Xbox PS2 era, the games on the Xbox always ran better. And as a PS2 owner, I can concede to that argument just because the Xbox had better hardware, and it was more like it was easier to program for than the PS2 because they were using their own technology at that time, and they just never ran as efficiently as they did on the Xbox.
So yeah, this was Interplay. So this was right off the trail of Dark Alliance, because Dark Alliance did so well. They
Yep.
decided to turn this kind of like they greenlighted development on it, Fallout, just for the fact that they could kind of like make that heavy metal soundtrack kind of thing, like really lean into it.
Yeah, no, yeah,
And
it's only good memories with this game from what I recall. Like, and I knew nothing about Fallout, by the way. I never played Fallout 2, I never played Fallout 1. I just kind of played it because, like you said, I played Dark Alliance, and I was like, oh, cool, this is like a futuristic version of that game, right? And I had a good time, even though I knew nothing about Fallout. So, well done, Interplay, well done. Nick, real quick, do they still exist, or are they under a different name now?
Interplay's gone.
Okay,
Interplay was one of my favorite
same. Same.
companies growing up, like them and Bullfrog. We kind of talked about that before, but I loved Interplay games. They
Oh.
were, I don't know if it was just the games I happened to like get when I was younger, just happened to be them. It's kind of the same. Like I'm sure one of these days, and I've talked about it before, I would love to have like a throwback, talk about like Apogee or Borderbund, like those companies that were like formative for like our younger days.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Interplay was
Interplay
one
is
of those for
definitely one
me.
of them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Andre says, I'll give it to you like this, GQ. It's the Deus Ex Invisible War of the Fallout series. Wow, that in itself is definitely
Yeah,
something
good
to
sales
think
pitch.
about. Yeah, right there. Yeah, we need you out on the floor, man. All right, other notable titles come out, and if you guys are familiar, please give it a shout out. Evil Zone on the PlayStation in 1999 Japan. Now I see that Blazing Ace Nelson here has this highlighted. Can you tell me why?
Okay, so
Better not be because of just the cover art.
oh no,
I remember
no,
that.
I remember the cover art, but no, it's not because of the cover art. It's because before sitting down and playing something like, say, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the original Capcom fighter, which covered the Stardust Crusaders content, Evil Zone was one of the first fighting games that I had ever played that actually played like an episodic anime.
Ooh. Oh,
Like just the
are
way
you
it was presented as you go through the story modes for each character. It was legitimately presented like like an episodic series. Before each fight, there was the previous
Oh,
the
okay.
previously on X-Men. They
I,
had that
I was
kind
gonna
of
say that. I was gonna say like Asura's Wrath.
right, and
Okay, gotcha.
there's just so much personality with each character, like not just the characterization and the writing and the design, but it was like each character legit had their own, not just their own theme song, but their own actual like intro music for their particular series as you play through the game.
Okay, so there's a lot of like what do you call this? I would say like production value.
Yeah, a lot of production value for something that came out especially back in 96, 97.
Yeah.
And again, it was very much an homage to a lot of the different series that we all grew up with and loved and
I
watched
was gonna
before.
say, like, for a fighting game, looking at the character select screen, there's some characters.
Right.
Yeah,
There,
there's like
there.
this common writer looking dude. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's like the caricatures of 90s anime characters.
I
Like,
should have known because the
Exactly.
developer was Ukes.
don't they sell shoes now? Ukes. YOOX.
No. This was Future Media Creators Ukes. YUKES.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, a game that I feel like that needs a remake straight from Sony's lab is War of the Monsters on the PS2 back in 2003. That was a super cool kaiju game, like a arena battler. I think that one of the first.
Yeah.
And it's seen a digital release on the PS4, I think, but it's never had a real actual sequel.
There was a console cab as well. I remember we had one of the arcade cabs for that.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, if I remember right, there was one. We had it at the castle, but it was one of my favorites to play, especially in the quality like arcade cabinet
Yeah.
screens. Absolutely.
Not super cool. And I feel like there's already other games that are like War of the Monsters. Like I think Ace, you've played one very similar to that. I know I played one that features Ultraman in it. Right? I forgot what it was called, but it was like a mix of War of the, because when I played it, I was like, this is like War of the Monsters. Like exactly what I said to myself.
Right.
So another interesting game, one of the rarest games on PlayStation 2 was Dot Hack Quarantine Part 4 on PS2 in 2004, ending the Dot Hack series on that console.
And one of the most expensive games
Yeah,
on the PS2.
I think back in, can you guys do a price check on that while I keep going here?
Yeah, I'll do that.
So another title that released was Odin Sphere Leifthasir, back on the PS3, PS4, Vita back in 2016. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's hard to explain. But if you guys are familiar with Vanillaware art, I think this game was the game that started that art style and made it popular. And another modern game that came out that's very similar to that is Unicorn Overlord. So just keep that in mind. And then you get the price.
Dot Hack Quarantine loose price averages about 195.
Just
loose
disc,
means just disc.
Yeah.
Complete in box 275.
Or
New
if you're looking
price
for it on
sealed,
Amazon, $350.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't trust that. New price is hovering around 360 right now.
Okay, I figured it'd be upgraded. It's probably like 1,000 or something like that. Something
Don't
stupid.
even get close to that. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about graded.
Yeah, I'm sure those dot hack collectors nearly had a heart attack when they re-released the GU version, the whole series on the console. They're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
But it says here, I got some news that on this syllabus. 1999, EA recalls PlayStation version of Tiger Woods 99 PGA Tour. A bootleg of this episode of South Park was found on the CD in normally unused space. The file was only readable via PC and was invisible to the PlayStation console. Roughly about 100,000 copies were affected with this release. That is that, and it's also going from like what G to mature, right? Because of the South Park episode. That's rough. Oh man.
Yeah,
Um.
that in itself is just kind of wild. Having
Yeah.
like a bootleg episode of a TV series.
Yeah, and a normally unused space on the CD, and they released it. Like, I completely forgot that had happened. So when that popped up on this day in like gaming history, I'm like, oh, we got to bring that up. That is so random.
So the real question is, did they print Tiger Woods in a bootleg copy of South Park, or or vice versa? Did they put it in Tiger Woods?
Or they were reused, repurposed discs. Who knows?
That's
Maybe
what I'm saying.
that was a stack of burned discs someone left in their office. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just use this for PGA Tour.
Or like somebody like in another department, they're in the same building. They're like they have a stack of bootleg South Park, and they're like, "Yeah, these discs are perfectly fine. Go ahead and use these." Something like that.
I swear that legitimately reminds me of one day when I was working at the theater up at the Bellis Fair, and one of my homies, they were supposed to be showing, I think it was Toy Story. Like it was one of the Toy Stories. I think Toy Story 2. But they accidentally spooled the film for Road Trip onto that projector.
This is what the Smash announcer would say to that. Dude, I'm like obsessed with the Smash TV announcer. It's so funny. Dude.
Ouch!
So good. Another ouch, I think, I'm not sure because it's been so long ago, was in 2008, THQ Incorporated acquires Big Huge Games. Now tell me who was Big Huge Games? What did they make?
So there's going to be some titles that they made that may sound familiar, but it's also worth bringing it up because it's a little bit of a different variety from what we talk about, kind of like how you called out sports games earlier. So Big Huge Games, founded in 2000 by some veteran game developers. Pretty much the founding partners had worked on strategy titles like Civ 2, Colonization, Alpha Centauri. So some pretty big titles, right?
Oh.
Okay.
They were the team that started the Rise of Nations strategy games, which I played a lot of back in the day. Kind of, you'd be able to like go through time. That was like one of the first like strategy games to let you do that. So you'd have like dudes with muskets shooting at like P-51 Mustangs flying down from the sky. Like it was crazy. I loved playing those games. But they also were responsible for bringing the Settlers of Catan board game to the Xbox Live Arcade. They also did some work for Ensemble for Age of Empires 3. But really where a lot of people know them from and why it might sound familiar, they were bought by 38 Studios and developed Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Oh, okay. It all pieces together now.
Okay.
Right. So that was one of those ones that they were known for making those big open world kind of games around that time. But fell in some hard times a little bit later on because, Kingdoms of Amalur didn't sell as well, and 38 Studios kind of went down the drain. They were, I think, eventually picked up by some different teams. But like I said, Kingdoms of Amalur, Rise of Nations, and known for some board game adaptations as well. So some strategy people.
I mean, video game development. I don't know if chat you've noticed this. It's cutthroat, man. You either make it or you break it, right? So it's rough out there. Even back then, it was rough. Your game doesn't sell, you're goodbye to your studio, goodbye to your team. It's pretty rough. So nothing's changed. If anything, it's gotten worse.
It was hard out there for a pimp,
especially for speaking
For
of
this pimp.
hard times and pimp. The game that nobody wanted but everybody loved. Or vice versa. The game that everybody wanted but everybody hated it. So DMC Devil May Cry is a very, very interesting title. And this is why I have it on there. In chat, please feel free to ring in because I know this is a controversial game. DMC Devil May Cry came out in 2013 for the PS3 and Xbox 360, and it was later on remastered. You know what? Here's the thing: everybody wanted white-haired, Dante that they love from DMC, the Devil May Cry 3, and I totally understand that, right? And then the next gen came out, and they wanted the newer version, kind of like when your new Final Fantasy comes out on a new console, right? You kind of want like your old characters back or your series back to the true form and play that again. But no, when you release a game that has a legacy defining character that everybody knows and admires, and you reboot it for no reason, you literally reboot it for no reason, people are gonna hate it. Especially it's a Capcom character and it's a Capcom game. People love Capcom characters. So Dino over here upset a lot of people. Now, with that said, DMC is actually a really good game in my opinion. If it was called anything else but Devil May Cry, I think it would have done so much better. It was just riding on the coattails of a game that everybody like appreciated and loved, and this was not that. The character, at least, but gameplay wise, it actually plays really good and it plays really smooth. And was it Ninja Theory did a really good job of creating their own version of Devil May Cry. It's just this is not what the fans wanted, right? So, what do you guys think on this? Like, is it just me, or do you guys agree, or what?
I think Andre has some feelings in chat.
I think so too, man. What you got here, Andre? All right, you got a lot to say about this game. I got into Devil May Cry around the time the reboot got announced. Into DMC with a fairly optimistic mindset. I liked the game a lot around the month of its release. Then, months later, started to see all the problems with it and Ninja Theory as a studio. The gameplay of the reboot is its redeeming aspect. And then rebooted for not selling COD numbers, according to the Red Riot Robot. I'm assuming that's the cousin of Blue Riot Bot.
My big thing with DMC was it seemed to me like it was trying too hard.
Trying too hard sums up that original trailer. I remember seeing that trailer and going like, they are trying really hard,
and
a little too hard.
And of course, when the demo for it came out, it literally dropped the same week as the demo for Metal Gear Rising.
I remember. Yeah.
So, yeah, like there's competition breeding innovation, and then there's competition breeding world star footage.
I can tell you exactly. I don't know if people will understand this, but I know exactly what happened to this game. Aside from the obvious, right? So, if you're a film aficionado like myself, are you familiar with the movie Old Boy from Korea?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
the original Korean one, not the one with Josh Brolin that came out in the US.
That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make.
Okay.
Is that
sorry, I got ahead of myself.
So that movie, the Korean one, was amazing, right? There is no reason for them to make the Josh Brolin version of the westernized version of that movie. And this is exactly what they did with Devil May Cry. They try to make Dante a westernized design and character of what they would think DMC should be like in a Western studio, right? So, because like the two like have similarities, but they're totally different in like viewpoints. Like Andre said, they made Virgil into a wuss, right? But isn't Virgil's just still a mama's boy in DMC5? I'm just saying, right? But it's just their interpretation of it. Yeah. So, but like I said, it's like the fans were screaming to the skies at the Capcom gods. They wanted a new Devil May Cry, like the Devil May Cry 4, right? But they got this instead. So I don't blame them for being upset. Because even I was like, what is this? Like, who asked for this?
Yeah, it was too much of a correction. It was, I think what Ace said is a good point to make, which was consider the time that this came out, what they were trying to like jump on the back of success wise. It was
Mhm.
too divorced from the original game series. So the old school fans didn't like it, but new school fans were the ones that were playing Bayonetta at the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And you can definitely, like, with the benefit of hindsight, see how that really, like, Bayonetta really influenced some of the decisions in this game. And even to this day, I just looked it up on Metacritic, like it still has a favorable review score of 86
Yeah.
for the meta score. It's just the user score is 5.8.
Yeah.
5.8. So
It's not a bad game.
yeah.
It's just nobody wanted it. That's all I'm saying, right? Here's the thing. All right, I know Ace, you're looking at this like fuck this game, right?
Actually, no. If this was a few years back, yeah. But now, again, it's just the stove top has cooled, so you can actually put your hand on it. But I mean, the big thing is just it was obvious that it was trying way too hard.
Mhm.
And again, considering what it came out in competition to, like again, I literally played the demo for Metal Gear Rising, played the demo for DMC, and it actually seemed like it was so over designed. It legitimately it hurt me. Like just trying to deal with a lot of the effects on the screen and how everything was laid out in that game, it actually started to give me a headache. I could barely finish playing the demo.
Bunch of tryhards, Ninja Theory.
But on top of that, though, the gameplay itself, just mechanically, it reminded me too much of Castlevania: Lords of Shadow.
Here's the
And
thing: I've never played that game, so I can't make a comparison.
It felt like it was trying too hard, but it didn't know what it was trying to be.
So I'll fix this right now for everybody here that's hating on this game. I'm gonna change that title to Dante's Inferno. Problem solved.
There you go.
See, you little babies. That's right. That's all it was. If they named this Dante's Inferno, it would have been like, this game's sick. But the fact that it rode on the coattails of Devil May Cry and the fans wanted white hair Dante, and here's the best part: they even made fun of the idea that Dante had white hair in the game, which was an extra punch in the nuts.
I remember that. Yeah.
So that was not funny. But I'm an antagonist, so I thought it was hilarious. But it's not funny. So anyway, other games that came out that day. In 1990, making sure that's a 0, not a 9. On the NES, you guys ever heard of the game called The Magic of Sherazade?
Yeah, only
It's like
because we worked in a retro store. And I remember seeing that and be like, "What is that cover art? Like, what's that word?" It's the same as like Faxanadu. You're like reading that, you're like, "What is that?"
Which was the competitor for Link's Link's 2, Adventure Link 2, Faxanadu. So, yeah, Magic Sherazade was an ARPG at the time. It's like a side scroller from what I remember. Not a very straightforward game. It kind of reminds me of Simon's Quest. Anything with the like the Prince of Persia universe, kind of like that. Speaking of, the other snowboarding title that came out that day was Cool Borders on the PlayStation back in 1997.
Cool.
Another demo disc classic.
Man, I remember playing that demo disc a lot. It was the one that came with like the PlayStation Underground, I think. Right? It's so edgy.
I think Cool Borders was actually on the same disc as the demo for Armored Core.
Well, it was either Underground or the PSM magazine, because remember when magazines had demos too?
Mm-hmm.
So that was really
the main reason I bought GamePro back in the day.
Oh man,
yeah.
So were you guys a GamePro or EGM?
GamePro for me, but that was just because I didn't know any better. I definitely, like, later on, as I got a little bit older, read more EGM, like for actual articles, but GamePro I got just because of the demo disc that was in there.
You matured into the EGM reader.
I don't know if I'd say that. I just started buying that.
Well, aside from the occasional GamePro with the demo disc, my household was actually more of a Nintendo Power and Tips and Tricks household.
Oh, okay, all right. That household got money apparently.
Yeah, I couldn't afford Nintendo Power.
Yeah, I was trying to sneak out GamePros from 7-Eleven in Chicago. All right.
And then when I started working at GameStop, I got Game Informer.
Yeah, you kind of had to,
Yeah, you had to.
And then last game for that day on the 15th was Mobile Suit Gundam Zeonic Front on the PS2 in 2002. I added that in there because I think that was my first experience on a Gundam game, like on console. But anything after that was like the Gundam versus Gundam in the arcades, but so
Yeah,
nothing like that.
I remember the battle assaults on the PlayStation 1, the Gundam battle
Oh
assaults.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that one is crazy. I
Jank,
remember that.
jank.
Yeah, jank fighting game indeed. Here's a game nobody knows about.
Not at all.
On the 16th, so the 16th was pretty rough. There wasn't a lot going on, but the titles I pulled here was one of them was Yakuza Like a Dragon on PS4 in the year 2020, which was 5 years ago. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
a
makes me feel old. I'll be honest. When this first came out, I was not interested. And Andre and I have talked on multiple streams before, back and forth, about how much I'm a huge Yakuza fan. And when they first announced this and kind of like brought it up and brought out turn-based combat, I was one of the original series truthers that was just like, no, I can't do that. It needs to be action combat. It needs to be Kiryu. It needs to be all these things. So I didn't pick it up right away. Let some reviews trickle in first, listen to some of my friends who were also fans overseas, and they told me to give it a shot. And I ended up liking it. I really did. It was one of those ones that kind of grew on me. But I will say I was very hesitant to start just because it was a departure, like we were
yeah,
talking about before. That being said, minus the turn based combat, you get in there and a lot of the mechanics and the like layouts and the cities and the story beats are very much still Yakuza, the
okay.
same series, the same kind of melodrama, the same kind of like story beats, the same kind of like, anyone who's played those games will tell you that the way the game feels is exactly the same. It's just the combat became like Final Fantasy classes and turn based. So
Mhm.
just one of those things that again I pushed aside. I wasn't sure I was going to like it. I was going to be like, oh, it's not this. It ended up being good, and now I played Infinite Wealth, and I'm looking forward to where the series goes from here. It was a good refreshing thing, but it definitely took me a little bit of time to like get into it.
Yeah. I could definitely say the same thing. Hell, when
And
I
now I own two steel books for it.
I mean, I could say the same thing for me. I mean, you know, when I first picked up Like a Dragon, when it came out in the States, it was, later on in the year around November, December. And again, I was just like, this is gonna take some doing to get into. But then you sit down and actually start, playing it, and it's like, okay, no, this still feels like a Yakuza game. I can work with this.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because Square is doing the opposite. They went from the turn based into the more action titles now, and
Exactly.
so it's like, so is our games evolving or devolving depending on like the legacy? Like it's just kind of weird that like,
No, they're just looking to bring it into a different place. I think in the end, it was a good idea for both those companies to go the ways they did. They got
mhm,
to change it up a little bit. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy turn-based combat when I was younger. I didn't have the patience for it, I want to say. And now that I'm a little bit older, don't have as much time to devote to games as I did before. I
yeah,
kind of like the pace in turn-based. That's why I got into Persona 5 so much, and why I'm really enjoying Metaphor, and why I ended up liking, Like a Dragon. My tastes have changed a little bit,
yeah,
and just giving it a shot, trying out to see if it's for me, and then ending up liking it. That's how it just worked out for me. Not going to be the same for everyone.
yeah,
Like Ace said, the moment you get in this game, you recognize a lot of the same like character animations, the way they talk, the certain like cutscenes, the way they're done, exactly the same as the rest of the series. So the rest of it is very, very familiar and comfortable to like longtime fans. It isn't like you were saying before with DMC, like a tonal change for what came before.
It's different, but it's not alienating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the same that you could say with like the Rebirth series for Final
fair,
Fantasy VII. It's got a lot of the familiar beats. It's just the game mechanics have been overhauled to a different style. And they've fleshed out a lot of the characters and a lot of the world, but it's still that same familiar base that you remember. It's still anchored enough in that it's not pushing away people.
okay. Andre said some ex-friends said the game was straight garbage, and I parroted their opinion until I sat down and played it. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the one of the many ways you can combat, other people's opinions is experiencing it for yourself.
To be honest, that was one of our. Oh, I keep saying that. Sorry, third time. I'll stop it. But that was something we dealt with a lot in the game store when we were working. A lot of
Mm,
people would come in and just parrot what they heard, and for a while there, it was during when YouTube was really like starting to like leap off, and these communities started popping up, and these things you keep hearing like these echo chambers. Like you even see it in some of the subreddits today for these game series. People get entrenched. Give it a shot yourself. Give it a try. There's so many games that I wouldn't have tried if I didn't, just work at a game store and it allowed me the chance to try different
yeah.
things.
Having being able to check things out and then having your own honest opinion about it
Yeah.
enables us to sell games better to you and give you a better understanding of how a game is. Ren Sten on YouTube, I think it's YouTube, said "Cold Blooded Warrior goes hard as a theme too."
Hell yeah.
Yeah, apparently they agree.
Yeah.
All right.
No, absolutely.
All right, other games that came out that day
So does
was
Akami Tai, but I mean,
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came out on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on 2020. So it looks like those two games came out at the same time, right? And then the other one, I'm not sure if you guys know about this game, but there's a little title on the PC called "I Am the Hero" back in 2017. Came out on the 16th as well. You guys familiar with "I Am the Hero"?
Mm-mm.
no, tell us more.
It's nothing too crazy, but it's a pixel art style beat 'em up. But it's designed in a way that it's more combat oriented than search action. If you guys look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's like if I always refer to, like, you remember that scene in Old Boy where he goes to that hotel and he just fights everybody. That's kind of how I felt when I was playing that game. So yeah, check it out sometimes when it's on sale or whatnot.
Ren knows what's up.
All right, so not much going on that day. Apparently, I don't know what day is that, like a Wednesday or something, probably. All right, so here's a game.
25 to
Here's a
live.
game that everybody saw at a GameStop because it was the first game on the shelf on the Xbox and PS2 because the
Mhm.
games were in alphabetical order. Was 25 to Life came out on 117 back on the PC, PS2, Xbox in 2006. Now, before we jump into this, has anyone even played this game?
I remember testing it on consoles back in the day, but I never played it like through myself.
I think this was like one of their first attempts, and for some reason, to me, Eidos and Ubisoft are like kind of the same company in my brain. But like this was the first attempt to make
No,
like an
no.
online game, right? Like, oh, we're the gangs and you're the cops and we're gonna be fighting on on these maps and stuff like that. But it was like during a time where it wasn't really like mandatory yet to have an online game, and this was their introduction to that. As you can see, it's online enabled on Xbox, right? So much easier to play on Xbox than it was on PS2.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know this, but although it was published by Eidos, did you know who developed this game?
No idea.
It was Avalanche Software and Ritual Entertainment. Avalanche, who's better known for things like early on Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, NFL
Okay.
NFL Blitz 2000, 2001, some other games like the TAC games. But later on, they were better known for the Disney Infinity titles and then Hogwarts Legacy.
That is quite the resume.
Yeah, there's some variety in there.
Oh yeah, it's like I feel like they were throwing like projects out and they were like, "Oh, I'll take this one." No, I don't have a job. I'll take this one too.
And then the other half of that team, Ritual, they were known for games like Sin, Heavy Metal Fact 2, Star Trek Elite Force, Counter Strike Condition Zero. They also helped on.
Oh my god.
Like there's a lot of talent around there that made that game.
I'm telling you, this game had high hopes. I feel like this game was pushed a lot in the store too because it was like, I don't know. Like I said, I felt like they were trying to go online with this game. And that's kind of just the vibe I got because in 2006 I was in a lot of GameStops. I even worked
Man,
at GameStop
I don't know
part-time.
if you've read the plot for this. Not to like derail that, we should definitely get
There's
onto
a
the other
plot
game.
to this
There
game.
is a plot. So just so you know, just like the first little blurb, just to give you a little bit of taste of like the era this was from, and you'll probably get some of the influences. This game is about a man named Freeze
Okay.
and his friend Sean Calderon and police officer Lester Williams in the fictional city of Las Reinas. Freeze commits crimes with Sean to get money, which he spends for his family, while Williams is trying to stop the organized crime across the city.
Oh yeah, this was the era of like the true crime series, and when what is that? What's that Chow Yun Fat game that came out?
Stranglehold.
Stranglehold.
Oh,
Like
I
this,
love Stranglehold.
yeah. So this was the time. This was like the era.
And like
Speaking of
Jet Li
Stranglehold,
Rise to Honor.
yeah. Speaking of Stranglehold, though, because I'm a huge fan of that hard-boiled movie, the rights for that have finally been figured out, and we might see an actual new release or re-release of Hard-Boiled in American markets, and I'm so excited for it. Give me that
You got my
Blu-ray of
attention.
Hard-Boiled.
If they remaster Stranglehold, I'm in. I'll play that again.
Well, it's that entire like series of movies
Franchise.
that were owned
Yeah.
by that film group. So not only Hardboiled, but all the like the Dynasty stuff around it. It's great. I can't
Yeah.
wait. I'm so excited.
Hey, I am too. I am too. So other games that came out that day was Ape Escape 3. Nothing like 25 to Life on the PS2 back in 2006. Divinity, the original Sin on PC back in 2014. Ace Combat 7, The Skies Unknown on PS4, Xbox One, and 2019 in Japan. And also a little title called Big Punchan, aka The Punisher, back in PS2 and Xbox in 2005. I had a different slide for this because this game was fantastic, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
need to remake this game, not remake, but just re-release it. And
Like
also,
Punisher, like that game came out. Like when that game came out, there were other, comic book movie titles that were surprisingly solid. I mean, stuff
Ghost
like
Rider.
exactly Ghost Rider, friggin' X-Men Origins Wolverine.
THQ.
They
I
were
mean,
putting in work.
if y'all didn't know this, Ghost Rider was like God of War because it was basically the same weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like we have God of War at home, you play Ghost Rider, right? So that was it. And another little bit of tidbit in this week in gaming history. In 2005, EA announces a 15-year partnership with ESPN. So
The licensing from hell where everyone felt like games, like sports games, went really downhill. Thanks, EA.
well, they got to buy out the competition. Absolutely. Was that the same year where where 2K had to rename their football game to like football or something like that? Remember that one title they made?
They had to change it around. Yeah, they lost the rights to be able to do, I think, like the college football as well. Like
Yeah,
2K5 was the last year we got to see that.
Yeah, so I remember that was a big one, and I think the rarest basketball game was NBA Elite 19. That was the last EA basketball game they ever made.
Wait, no, it's because remember EA used to do NBA Live.
Correct.
Yeah,
and then
it was NBA Live and NBA, NHL, and FIFA Live.
Yeah, and then what do you call that? They didn't want to pay the NBA anymore. That's why they changed the name from FIFA to Football Club, because they didn't want to pay FIFA any more royalties. So it's so funny that they take the legacy of something that they had for a long time. They go, we don't want to pay that anymore. We're gonna cut back.
Not make enough money on it.
Yeah, exactly. Even though the soccer games make like all across the world.
Yeah, the FIFA the last year it was called that. I think it was like 1 billion in profits just from the like microtransactions, not even from the sales of the game itself.
Wasn't like the best selling PS2 game like a soccer game, right? Because it's all over the world, something like that, and because everybody had a PS2 and everybody loves soccer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that was I've read it somewhere. I was so shocked because I was like, why is a soccer game the best selling PS2 game ever? So anyway, that is all in the past, just like this game. Speaking of this, we talked about this last week, and I had to find the right box art for it. Virtua Quest came out on the 18th on the PS2 and GameCube in 2007 in Japan.
That was the time.
I have never played this game, but I've seen it on the shelf. And looking at this title, I'm just like, this game is either expensive or dirt cheap. You can't tell. You can't tell. So, other games that to have come out that day, Wrecking Crew on the PlayStation in 1998, which I think was like Twisted Metal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's kind of like Mario Kart.
Okay. Wrecking Crew sounds more like Twisted Metal to me.
It was basically like it to me. If I remember right, that the cover art, it kind of reminded me of Big Mother Truckers. It was just
Yes,
like a like dirty backwoods version of Mario Kart.
the grungy version of Mario Kart.
I mean, they couldn't
Wow.
put a G on it. It was literally Wrecking Crew.
Reckon can't afford the G. A game that actually starts with a G is Giga Wing 2 on the Dreamcast
Oh,
in
bullet hell! That's
2001
all you.
in Japan. Yeah, that's me. Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return on the PlayStation 2000. Let's see here, Little Big Planet 2 on the PS3 in 2011. And we got here Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes on the Switch back in 2019. Tell us a little about that, Ace.
Actually, I don't know why that was highlighted, but I haven't played it.
Okay, all right. Typo. And also in 2022, Activision Blizzard Corporation and subsidiaries announced to be purchased by Microsoft for $68.7 billion pending
Yep,
regulatory reviews.
$68.7 billion.
Billion.
Yeah, so it was announced on that day. Always worth bringing up because we've seen what's happened since, and everyone's wondering, Microsoft, you bought them. Where's the games?
Yeah, right. And it's like they bought them and they stopped making games. That's kind of crazy.
I know. I remember some of the discussions around it. Like Microsoft went in and helped reevaluate a lot of the like games that were in development to say like, hey, either we're pulling the plug or we're moving forward with it, trying to clean up the process. And that was about the time that people were really wanting Phil Spencer to say, hey, why don't we bring out some of the stuff that people really want? Like, well, how about a new StarCraft or something like that? The games
Yeah.
that, big series that have been kind of dormant for a while. We're still waiting to hear if that's ever going to happen.
And you know what? I have huge expectations for Microsoft because I feel like they're there. Like they're kind of peeking out the door going, we got some stuff. We'll be right there with you. They're teasing us with a little bit of Gears, and the more and other big things that are Fable whenever that happens, right? And I feel like Microsoft fans will be eating good coming up pretty soon, hopefully. So all right, so last for the week, one of the rarest games on PS2, Rule of Rose, came out in 2006 in Japan. Very expensive. I would actually be curious how much this game costs now because this is one of those games that, while as that console was on its way out, it got released. And I get this game confused with the Capcom game Haunting Ground all the time. Because they're very similar. And so that's what I thought it was when I first saw it. Then I saw Atlas and I was like, oh, okay, it's not
Yeah,
Ground.
one of those games that was released, like you said, at the end of the life cycle, where there wasn't a lot of people still looking to buy it, and Atlas wasn't as big of a name in the U.S. as they are nowadays. So
Mhm.
people go back to play this one or try to find it. To answer your question, loose disc only right now, roughly about $460.
Oh, my God.
Complete inbox prices of what's sold recently, 650.
That box is expensive.
New price, four figures, my guy. It's over $1,000.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
It's over 1,000.
Unfortunately, I think this was one of those games that escaped my collection. So, and I don't think I will be collecting it for that price. So,
It almost makes me wish I would have bought it when it was 200 in store when I saw it
right.
last,
And,
when we were still working there.
and I think, like I said, it was because I got this confused with Haunting Ground, and I wanted to play Haunting Ground, and
Which is
I don't know.
also not cheap to
Yeah.
get a hold of anymore.
Yeah, it's like the
No.
other game that's expensive, and also a game made by Capcom, which is super strange, but whatever. It is what it is. Speaking of a game made by Capcom, Dark Void also came out this day on the PC, PS3, and 360 back in 2010. If anybody's played that, it's pretty much the Rocketeer.
Yes, why I played it, actually.
A little bit edgier. Naraka tier. Probably can get this game for $5 or less. That's all I'm saying. Complete. Another Capcom game got released this day, Resident Evil Origins Collection, which is a great compilation, by the way, on the PC, PS4, Xbox One, and 2016. That's a good one. Last but not least, Valkyria Revolution, released on the PS4 and the Vita back in 2017 in Japan, which I've played Valkyria Chronicles 1, and Revolution, I think, was completely different than 1 and 2. But correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I know you guys love your Valkyria game, so let me know how that works out, because I know there was a 4, and then one of them was on a PSP. It was all confusing. They're all over the place. So, but yeah, that is your This Week in Gaming History. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Yeah. That was like a combination of the two. But yeah, so last week we didn't have a lot of time to chat about all the news in gaming. So we got a lot to cover here. So I'll let Nick take over here and let me know what to share, and we'll tell us what's going on.
If you want to, I can always share my screen as well. But the
Yeah, go
first
for it.
one, just to kind of go through really quick, as the headmaster mentioned, there are a couple quick articles I just wanted to call out that we were going to talk about last week. So some of you might have heard this information already. Just keep in mind it's worth bringing up just because it's stuff we're interested in, and we think it'd be interesting if you know about it as well. We did kind of offhand mention it, but Tango Gameworks was actually saved from being completely gone and sent to the Shadow Realm after Microsoft got rid of them. They got picked up by Krafton, big publisher out of Korea, known for games like PUBG, Inzoi, Darker and Darker. Dark and Darker. But Tango saved, so we get to see some more games from the super talented and super cool people that made Hi-Fi Rush. So we're super excited about that. Also, oh heck, if you didn't know, NVIDIA has released a ton of details on the 50 series cards. If you haven't seen them, they're massive as all hell.
$2,000.
Yeah, massive, massive stuff. And like you saw, if you haven't, definitely check out the article. GQ has it. He can link it. But if you don't know about it, just kind of checking out the performance for it, there's a fair amount of improvements. 2 times performance over the 4090 for the 5090, 4K gaming at 240 FPS. But more than anything, like James said, expensive as all hell. And you'll see people online who went to CES who actually had it in hand. It's about the size of some people's forearms. It is massive. The best part about it, and I'll see if I can find it and I'll link it later, but they kind of put it up against one of those mini ATX like motherboards. So the motherboard's like yay big, and then this GPU just like is double the size of it, like snapping into it. It's insane.
Good lord.
So would new builders have to get like a new case for this thing, or like?
Depends on the case. To be honest, with my case that I have here, I have one of the Leon Lee's that it had the extra space for larger GPUs. It'll fit in there, but I bought this case because I wanted more airflow and I like the look of it. I like to look inside and have, like clean cables and all that stuff. But if people bought like standard, like for my wife's computer, I bought one of the little NTX like 510s or whatever, like the super basic ones, perfect for the little stuff you put in there. You'll need a new case, or you're cutting out some of the metal to fit that thing in there. It is huge, 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 huge. But I mean, if you got to have the latest and greatest, that's what you're going to have. We'll see what it does to like pricing for like the current generation, because that's like a pretty steep buy into something like that jump wise. So like
2,000 is for a part.
yeah, for just the GPU, and then having every other piece around it to really like leverage that, and then how long before devs take build games that can really utilize that to its fullest extent. So it's just one of those things that you're probably going to see a longer tail on the current 40 series kind of stuff. So watch prices, and then potentially with tariffs that are coming down the line too, who knows where these prices are going to go. But just kind of an important thing with CES hitting, just an article. Check out those details. Pretty crazy. I
bought my truck for that much.
Yeah,
I bought a
but
whole ass
yeah,
vehicle for the price of that.
yeah, but
damn
Nels,
graphics
but
card.
Ace doesn't play Virtual Fighter
No, I was gonna
effectively.
say, does it play Doom? Does your car play Doom? Because I doubt it does.
I doubt it does. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Do you have the link to that Virtual Fighter showcase? Because it looks like Renston said, "Give me Virtual Fighter," and I wanted to check that out for our version of yo. Check this out.
Yeah, actually, at the top there should be, that is the link that I put on there in the syllabus.
Okay, so let me
So
see if
that's
I
just
can.
the official concept. So you can definitely toss that up. Another quick one, Resident Evil 4. I know you remake fans out there and how good Resident Evil has been lately. Resident Evil 4 has now sold over 9 million copies. Capcom just released the numbers for it. That is massive. Big thing to point out, some people don't remember, Resident Evil 4 was a bit of departure itself. We were talking about that earlier on in the
Mhm.
show. That was when they started to do this gameplay shift towards action, kind of going away from the survival horror roots that people know. So Resident Evil 4 hitting a massive, massive sales franchise, super long tail on it, still probably one of the best regarded games in all of Resident Evil. Is it your favorite? What do you guys think? Is it the best?
It's kind of weird. Like one of the best selling RE games was a departure from the formula, because earlier we were just talking about how it needs to evolve and change, and this is like the change that everybody wanted. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because since that release, it was, I think, pretty much the fastest selling Resident Evil game, period.
Mm,
It was crazy, like when it came out. I mean, one
That's
thing
definitely
they did say in the article, and it's really interesting to see because a lot of people played Village 8 and like had a lot of really cool things
yeah.
to say about it, and they built it as like a VR platform. Um, to put it in perspective, by the time that Resident Evil Village had entered its 8th quarter of sales, it only sold about 500,000 copies,
Mm.
wow.
which is pretty crazy. Like that, it's still considered to be a pretty like successful game, but nowhere near the success of Resident Evil 4.
All right, I think I have the video up here. Let's take a look. Look a look again there.
So the obvious question is, are we getting a remake of Resident Evil 5? And do you think it has aged well?
So
Because 5,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no.
I was gonna say that there's a rumor on the street that Resident Evil, the next one, was it 12? I can't remember what it is. 10?
I think it's
Um
9 because
9?
Village was 8, so the next one would be 9.
Okay, they're saying that 9 is gonna be what do you call this? A remake of the first one. So that's super interesting if they do it that way, because it's been remade, but not a remake of a remake. So that's super fun to think about.
So on that same note, before we start this up, just another food for thought. If you have to think about Resident Evil, maybe some remakes, if you think 5 has aged well and we don't need a remake, what about some of the offshoots? What about Code Veronica or maybe Resident Evil
Outbreak.
0?
In this time of online gaming and internet infrastructure bringing people together all across the world, across platforms in the same game, this would be the perfect time to remake and release Resident Evil Outbreak.
Hell, I mean, I agree with you on that 100%, because that was like a weird time to release that type of game where people have to kind of like work together to accomplish a task, and they weren't action heroes or anything like that. They were just like Steve from the pet store, like 'cause
Right?
I was a security guard for the mall, and these guys were like, let's team up to like escape the city. I think that'd be super fun. To bring back Resident Evil Outbreak is definitely in due for a release. If they make it free to play, I'd be interested in how they would make that, because it would have to be like Raccoon City. The world would be Raccoon City, right? So that'd be interesting. But I feel like it'd be a roguelite, because the experience would be different every time,
Ooh.
right? So, but here it is, guys. The sickest fighting game you'll ever play. If that. That's so cool. I'm ready, dude. I'm ready for this game. This okay. First of all, I think on the stream I said, how are they going to make Virtua Fighter stand out from Tekken, right? And I said, you know what? Graphically, I feel like Tekken is there. It's there. It's for the craziness, the outlandishness. It's all there. They're gonna make Virtua Fighter more down to earth, and they're gonna focus on the combat. And man, do they focus on the combat. And I understand this is not how the game is going to play, right? It's not
Right,
going
it's
to be
just a
this smooth.
concept.
Yeah, it's not going to be as smooth. But a lot of YouTubers and fighting game people have already talking about it, and they're saying that like, yo, this is like them making blocking interesting is like
Right.
is next level. And I think no one's ever made that interesting except Dead or Alive, right? And so now I'm like, Virtual Fighter, man, I'm ready for whatever you guys got next level in the fighting game world. You know, I'm ready for that.
And RGG Studios taking point on that. I am excited just for that.
Yeah, and I honestly think this is probably why we haven't seen Kiryu and Tekken, because they're like, we're gonna put him in Virtual Fighter.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been in the works, but I could see that now, and I'm
Yeah.
here for it. Bringing him, bringing Ichiban. I mean, bring over Majima. Absolutely, bring the cast.
Yeah, honestly, like, why not? They belong there. You know,
Yeah.
it's and even whatever other like fighting Vipers people just show up. You know, like look at Ace's face.
Right.
He knows what I'm talking about. You know, so stuff like that. All right, what else we got?
So, just because we were talking about it before, and now this is one sec freezing on me.
Renstead, you right. The idea that what they
Outbreak
did
was-
with Exoprimal and Outbreak,
Oh,
that is
yeah.
the engine. That'd be good. That'd be good.
Restream is freezing on me. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You're working perfectly fine.
okay, so Restream is completely bricked on my screen, but I was going to share my screen, and Ren had brought up about there's no way it costs $1,000. I pulled up on eBay, Rule of Rose, new, which is what I was saying was selling at that price, and the US version, so the NTSC version,
Yeah.
sold on December 9th for $1,200.
You what?
Yeah.
That was recently too.
Yeah, that was a month ago. Sold for that much.
No.
So the Japanese version will be cheaper, like
Yeah.
half that,
It
easily,
always
even
is.
new.
It always
But
is.
the NTSC version for that price, it is selling for that much. Like selling, not listed, selling. Because there's people on eBay that listed for like 20 grand. No one's going to buy it for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully a misclick. But yeah, no, that's what ended up happening. If you want to, go ahead and pull up the article for GTA 6. Since this entire thing has bricked, I'm going to reconnect real quick.
You got it. You got it. You got it, man. All right. New industry standards. Ooh, okay. Oh, that's not the right button. Hold on. It's like I know how to use this thing or something.
Mine too, Ren. Mine too.
Get this car out of my face.
Well, I mean,
What's in there? There we go.
normally when you hear something setting new industry standards, it's not always in gaming.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I hope you know, like I said, I hope they get rid of churn and like, you know, what is the not churn, the other one where they have to work like extra hours.
Crunch.
Crunch is terrible. And like, you know, like right now the big example that I'm going to use, and it's probably a bad example because I don't know exactly what's happening over there, is they keep pushing back Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? And hopefully it's because they don't want to force people to work like 18-hour days, right? And they just gotta go, okay, we're gonna slow everything down, we're gonna focus on quality, not rush things out, you know. And because here's the thing, if that's what they're doing because their stock has crashed so hard that they actually care about putting out a good product, the shareholders are saying, no, let's wait till it's good before it's released before the fiscal year so we don't lose more profits, right? They're willing to make that wait. So this way they're not, you know, they're not going to have another failure on their hands. So, and I hope that's the reason. I don't know if that is the reason, but I hope that is the reason they're pushing that game back to make it better, and they're actually like alleviating a lot of the stress and pressure off the developers. That's all I'm saying. Probably not, but that's exactly what it is. Anyway, Nick, can you hear us? Can you hear it?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Mhm.
You're good.
Yeah, sorry, something happened with Chrome. It completely bricked everything that I had going on. Did you start talking about this article at all?
No, we were just talking about new industry standards, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, GTA 6 could set new industry standards, according to an analyst. So I wanted to bring up this article for a couple reasons. The first off being that we, as a team and as a community in chat, have also talked about how GTA 6 is this black hole in the industry that's going to pull every game around it, drag it down, beat it up, throw it out with the trash because GTA 6 is just going to be huge, right? So every time I see an article like this where someone's like, hey, an analyst or a behind the scenes person said this, take it as a grain of salt, a little bit of media literacy, read into it, just really like what's being said. I looked into it a little bit. The person that is the analyst in question is Emmanuel, I think, Rosier. If I'm pronouncing that right, director of NetZoo and is a market analyst. So the reason it's worth calling that out is the article doesn't cover this at all, but he has a history. I looked up the dude's LinkedIn, has a history in business, in planning, in publishing, in long range planning at EA, as well as competitive insights and demand planning. So the dude has this interest and this long experience with planning around releases, planning the impact of it, other market factors. And it's being brought up to like, okay, so this new game's coming out. Everyone's throwing out all these things about it, saying what it could be, what it won't be. Here's someone who's in the industry, has a lot of experience, and saying, hey, this could be as big as people are saying. So one thing the article says that brings up, and I wanted to bring it up so we can bring it to the crew here tonight as well as to chat, but do you think this will, what some people have said, is fracture the GTA fan base? So there's a lot of people online still playing GTA Online, right? And GTA Online is running on these older machines, while 6 is only on the newer consoles.
Mm.
Nothing has been like officially announced about the future of GTA Online. So, what's going to happen to this user base? Are they going to be able to play together? Are they forced to move forward? Should they move forward? Just to kind of lay out a little bit of some of the numbers we're seeing, just to kind of like put a little nuance on this.
Mhm.
ActivePlayer.io has listed 8.1 million average daily players in the last 30 days for GTA 5 still. So despite the
Wow.
fact this game has been out as long as it has, and we knew that GTA Online has a pretty big community, that's still a lot of average daily players.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Keep in mind that's also on the back of like it's the holiday season. There's a lot of news about GTA 6 kind of flying around. It's probably renewed some interest. In October, that number was only 3 million. So it jumped another 5 million from October to December. And
That's
this is actual online numbers. So
that's
holidays,
wild.
release windows, that could affect it. Compare that to December of 2002. That same listing had it at 2.1 million. So do you think people are interested in GTA 6? They're getting back into online. They're going back into 5 in millions of droves. So at the same time, I thought, okay, let's take a look at some different like factors. Steam database, 30-day peak was 217K.
Ooh.
Twitch, 145K viewers at 10 a.m. Pacific when I
That's
checked during the day.
now
Di-
that now
what?
that's for RP though, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, no, that's just GTA 5.
Okay.
So Steam database was just GTA 5. That doesn't tell me online. But generally, if you're playing GTA 5, it's mostly going to be the online players. That's why I compared it to Twitch. So on that same time, you had that 30-day peak of 217K. Middle of the morning on the
Which is
7th
just
when I checked,
nuts.
145K on Twitch, like following and watching. So massive amount of people playing online. So let's discuss GTA 6. Thanks to this article bringing it up about setting new industry standards. One thing we can say about Rockstar is they tend to redefine games whenever they release a new one. It takes a long time for a game to come out, but when it hits, it kind of
It
redefines
hits
how we,
hard.
yeah, it hits super hard. They're known for creating these massive, complex, and as of the last few, like really genre defining kind of game. So it wouldn't be out of place to kind of like already consider that label for 6. So I want to ask you two, do you think GTA 6 is going to get crushed under the weight of its own expectations? Like, do you think they can redefine open world gaming? Like maybe smarter NPCs, more reactive environments, seamless on offline switching, like integration? Or do they even need to?
Hmm. Ace, what you got?
Well, you mentioned the potential for it being crushed under the weight of its own expectations, and like I can definitely say that the expectations are high enough that I feel like any other title with that kind of steadily progressively growing and progressively snowballing hype and expectation behind it, most any other title would have already been crushed and left by the roadside. So the fact that GTA 6 has gone on this long in development, and the excitement for it and the expectations for it have just been steadily, and I mean it's not a, boom, all of a sudden the hype is just off the charts. No, it's building. It is steadily building. So chances are good that GTA 6 is going to be another home run.
Yeah, I think like
But
Andre is saying in chat, like with every Rockstar game, immediate hit in terms of sales off the bat.
yeah,
But
yeah, and I
what
mean
needs to
it's got that
be there to have that tail on it? I mean, no one said anything about GTA Online. Like we said, it's still popular
ex-
to this day.
exactly, and that right there is going to be the linchpin of which way the tide is going to go once that game releases, once GTA 6 releases. You know how you know how closely it can match up to the staying power that GTA Online has. I mean, GTA 5 is a PS3 title.
That's true. Facts.
Yeah,
That game has literally spanned multiple console generations. So that is a huge install base right there that either they need to work to pull over into this new ecosystem for GTA 6, or they're banking on their player base already being excited for it and going, you know what? I'm not moving into the next generation just yet, but the PS5 is going to be my GTA 6 machine.
I think
what
that's
do you?
fair.
Yeah, what do you? I was gonna say, James, what do you think about this? Just about. Do you think GTA 6 is getting too hyped up? Do you think it'll live up to it given Rockstar's history? And do you think they can redefine gaming?
I don't think they're redefining anything. If anything, they're redefining their wallets. If that's the case, because if you're a GTA fan already, you're gonna get 6 no matter what. The only thing stopping you is the price point. If you don't want to commit to an investment of at least $500 or $600 for a new console, right? Because it is going to be only on the next gen consoles. The difference here, to me, it's always been like player versus company, and the company is like, why are they, why would they if they don't have to, if they're still selling shark cards by the millions of dollars, and why would they put more money into something that they don't necessarily need to? And this is why, like Ace said, we've had GTA 5 since the PS3, right? Because shark cards are still selling like hotcakes, right? And that's a thing, and they people have made like, the fact that they have GTA Online RP is because they're trying to find other ways to have fun with the game, right? And so because it's like a lifestyle, you don't even have to just play GTA anymore. You can just have fun with your friends and hang out. Like you said, like somebody was saying, and I remember if it was you, you were making videos, machinima videos about GTA or something like that. So it's not
Basically,
just the game itself; it's like what's how the culture perceives the game.
right.
Now, with that said, financially and expectation wise, it's only gonna the expectation is always under the impression that they want to improve everything graphically and gameplay wise, and also like lifestyle wise. And then what I mean by that is like the ecosystem of the game. does it give me more options to be immersed? Am I gonna have my own apartment? Am I gonna get mail from my own hideout and stuff like that, right? Like like you said, our NPC is gonna be more diligent in remembering who I am and the details. Can I shoot these bottles on the floor and have the glass shatter in physics? Stuff like that is usually not impressive enough for the typical gamer to enjoy, right? It's the people that are playing on Twitch right now, and people are those hundred thousands of people. They're hanging out in RP because they're having a good time. They're not talking about like the physics of this game or not, but they're more so just saying, what can we do and expand in this game, right?
Yeah, effectively, GTA 5 and GTA Online has been solved at this point.
Yeah, and from what I remember, GTA Online is often separated from the main game,
Yeah,
like, and so to me, like that's their way of saying this is a different product than GTA 5. So I think that's a smooth way for them to say, hey, GTA 6 is a success if you play it as a single player game, but then our GTA Online, whatever they want to call it, GTA World probably, right? Is a different category. It makes its own money, something
Right.
like that.
So
So,
to just to take all these ideas, and I know Andre, you've brought some good points as well. It's about kind of redefine games. Just to recenter back on this article and the impact that we're
mhm,
trying to discuss around is setting industry standards, not so much redefining gaming.
okay,
So in terms of setting standards, just looking back, just again, just to kind of take what this article is about and really understand the influence that GTA 5 had, and just understand like where Rockstar could go next. I mean, remember that GTA 5 was such a hit because of what it did.
yeah,
The GTA Online like revolution, having this big persistent online multiplayer world and kind of bringing in that whole thing about extended lifespans.
yeah,
Remember that Destiny was supposed to be a 10-year game. GTA Online, GTA 5 is the 10-year game.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Pretty
It's like,
big.
so talking
10.
about like a
That's
new
being generous.
right,
Yeah,
but still just to say like that changed how we perceived, or how the gaming industry perceived how you could make games. It had a triple protagonist system if you played through the main story,
Mhm.
that huge open world. It was technically excellent. It was running on those multiple generations and PCs at the same time, and relatively across the board worked really
sure.
well. But extended life cycle, those big cinematic trailers, but really just imagine how many game developers were influenced to make open world expansive multiplayer worlds thanks to GTA 5 like redefining the quality level and the new standard in the industry. I mean
Right.
microtransactions too. Like,
Okay.
so
Like,
with that in mind, like
yeah.
looking at 6, people saying it could set new industry standards, there is a basis for it. Just saying like look what 5 did to completely
I was about
redefine
to
all
say
these
it
things.
it could set industry standards considering how 5 set new
I
industry
I'm
standards.
gonna add on that if it's gonna set if it does, I think it would be a terrible thing for the game industry for this to set new standards, because now they're gonna say you can't make a hit game without at least $100 million in budget, right? Because that's how what they do. They look at the numbers and they go, "This is what it takes," right? And so if they differentiate the sales of GTA 6 with the amount of revenue they get with GTA Online, I can accept that because those are two different products, and I think that's good if they do it that way. Because as far as we're talking about industry standards, I think it is crazy for anybody else to replicate what Rockstar does
Right.
because they don't have the capital for and the resources for this thing.
Well, in capital and resources, think about time. A really
Yeah,
good example is
absolutely.
Baldur's Gate 3. People expect games like Veilguard is just the most recent one to like kind of have that comparison, but other games expected to be up to the same level as Baldur's Gate 3 with its like writing and mechanics. That game was in early access getting constant
Mhm.
feedback from players for a long time, years essentially, and every single gaming studio cannot be expected or can hold themselves to that standard. So in that sense, like you said, with GTA 6 coming out, there's going to be certain standards that you cannot hold other people to. But on the flip side of that, just thinking about the devs creating something that redefines like open world gaming, I mentioned it earlier. Imagine if they set a new standard for smart NPCs or more reactive environments,
Sure.
especially with the current power in a lot of these consoles and in PCs nowadays compared to when we had GTA 5.
Mhm.
Seamless online offline integration, being able to do that immediately without having to do the load screens and stuff. Like,
and and just across the cross-platform communications infrastructure in that game.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely people are intimidated by this game. Other
yeah,
companies are because, and that's the reason they're going to set a standard. Why this is going to be what a video game should be, and I feel like it sets a terrible standard for other companies that don't have that power. Now, what I'm going to say is probably like what you said about like maybe leading an example. Like you guys know, I recently played Shadow of War, and I love the Nemesis system, which is trademarked by them, and nobody else can use it, right? So I feel like that's another thing we have to also consider. If they start revolutionizing certain NPC activities, they can say, "Oh no, that's something we made, so you guys can't do that either." There's always, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly on the industry, but I just follow the money, not the developers. And the guys that have the money are the ones telling what the developers what to do, and it's often frustrating to hear that they stifle design and innovation because they just want to make more money.
yeah.
It's super annoying.
So good little stopping point, but just some food for thought. I appreciate you guys putting on that chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for putting it on as well. Just as the final little article thing, just because that's a perfect thing to lead into. We've talked multiple times about ballooning costs in the industry. IGN just released an article just showing the total cost of Call of Duty's development budget. And for Black Ops Cold War alone, it cost them $700 million to make that game. So that
My
was,
God.
keep in mind, that's pre and post launch costs.
Ooh.
So that does include live service and life cycle. But they also shared on that article just context with some of the older titles as well, which is just insane to think, like the amount of money that goes into making those games and why they have such like high expectations. So Black Ops 3
Yeah.
in
Sales wise, yeah,
2015, yeah, Black Ops 3 in 2015, 450 million to develop it across its
that's
life
crazy.
cycle. Modern
That's crazy.
Warfare in 2019, 640. Cold War 1 year later in 2020, 700 million. So context for that: Naughty Dog's Last of Us 2 cost about 220 million to develop. Forbidden West was about 212 million. Spider-Man 2 cost 300 million to develop.
Now, here's the thing. Like, I'd love to see the breakdown on this, and I feel like if I was an auditor, I'd be like, let me see your shit."
Let me see the number.
Yeah, let me see it. Let me check the tapes. You know what I'm saying? But like, how much is? Because here's the reason why I bring this up is because when I first installed Cold War, it asked me if I want to install, what do you call this? Install multiplayer or campaign, right? So immediately right there, I'm like, are there two different companies or two different teams working on these things? And do they have different budgets? You know, and clearly multiplayer is going to cost more, but I could be wrong because I hear from a lot of influencers out there that like scripted cutscenes in these single player campaigns are the ones that take up a lot of the budget.
There's a lot of budget associated with that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I keep in mind, like I said, at the very top, that is pre and post launch support comes out to that total cost. So that's a lot
gotcha.
of like the live service as well. So even if it's split across the teams, it's still their live service, their marketing, pre-production, post-production. So just there's a lot involved with it, but with ever increasing AAA development budgets kind of being a hot topic right now,
Yeah,
it's really interesting to kind of like you said, question the viability of games nowadays. Like, look at that price, look at the amount of teams. Like, what can you fully expect from this, and why are we starting to see such a prevalence of microtransactions? It's because of these costs. Look at the
yeah.
cost of these. Anyway,
I also think talent is a big one. Like even though they have a big budget, like I think talent plays a part that nobody talks about, right? And so like you said, like Spider-Man 2, that team could have had a way better experienced team than anybody than Call of Duty. Then again, I'm not in development. A
right.
multiplayer first person shooter may cost a lot more.
Completely different. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
significantly more cost involved with live service, with multiplayer servers, with
Yeah,
maintenance, with support teams. Like
exactly.
the cost is always going to be higher for. We knew that, but
Yeah,
still, like seeing almost triple the cost to go from Spider-Man 2 to Call of Duty when they're coming out in those yearly iterations, you'd think they'd have a lot of those tools already built in, or at least
Yeah,
that's what a
right.
lot of gamers say. It's like it's the same game every year. It's like, yeah, but look
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
costs. Look at the
Yeah.
cost of
What
doing this.
what's wild is like, can you you remember when we were like little babies and like games are $80 because they're cartridges, right? And like, what were their budgets on these things? And like, given inflation too, I don't even think they're
About
$700 million.
tree fitty.
Yeah, like I feel like it would be 100 million, if not less than that, for that the difference. But games are complicated now than they were before.
Oh,
So
significantly.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
remember like the notorious case of the ET game on the Atari
Yeah,
2600 back in the day. They gave him 6 weeks to make that game. Like it was different back then.
yeah. No, it's yeah, and most of that budget went to the license. I'm assuming, right? Yeah, but is that all we got for news?
That's all we got for news. Just getting caught up.
All
Appreciate the
right.
chat.
Yeah, we all caught up. All right. So, all right, we're bringing the heat now. Guess what? It's time for Nelson's The Tech. Take it away, homie. What you got?
So, we're going to be giving you a little bit of a sneak peek here for those of you that haven't got the 3-day early access from picking up the digital deluxe version. It's time to start bringing in and showcasing some footage from Dynasty Warriors Origins. Let me go ahead and get everything all set up here.
We'll get you guys hyped up.
And let's flip that around. Okay, so we've got the source there. Go ahead and pull it in. See if we can get the audio for it too.
It's popping up. Oh wait, let me see. There is no audio track on this.
Okay,
it's okay.
Well,
we got the hype song in the back.
Well, we can work with it, but listen. I'm sure for everyone that's played Dynasty Warriors previously, I'm sure this map screen looks awful familiar. But once we actually get down to the battlefield, things are going to look a little different. Now, the plan here is basically just to give you all a bit of an introduction to the game, reintroduce you to the basic systems, but also, give you a quick sneak peek at what's new with this.
Oh, this is gonna be a bitrate hell.
Like we're already seeing what's new with it right now, just with the way the action carries out,
mm-hmm.
and also the greater defensive options that you have for your character. And
so you're saying it doesn't play like your traditional Dynasty Warriors game?
Considering how long this series has been going, I can literally say this ain't your daddy's Dynasty Warriors.
No more square 5 times and triangle 2 times.
Oh no, my flow charts.
Yeah.
The flow charts will still work, but rest assured that the flow chart will not carry you through this game.
Don't pull a DMC on me. Don't change too much.
Like the flow chart will only take you so far, but you've got. I mean, you're already seeing me over here getting knocked around, but you've got to keep an eye on your defensive options here, because that right there is going to add so many more layers to the game and just so much more enjoyment to the game, frankly.
Andre, yeah, you're right. Like, the vibe that I got for this game is exactly what I thought it would have been if I were to design this game 5 years ago. Traditional Dynasty Warriors combat facing the armies, but then once you get to a general, it becomes a little bit more like a fighting game. And
yeah, it becomes a 1v1.
Yeah, and like what you said, Andre, Rise of the Ronin and Wolong is exactly what I felt like when I was going against even just kind of like not like your officers, but just like a higher soldiers.
Yeah, like even NPCs that would be like, lieutenants or captains, not generals, but even just the lieutenants and captains. It's a whole nother ball game trying to actually, take some of these cats on. But let's go ahead and introduce a couple of things, namely how your equipment's going to be set up. So for those of you getting into the game, if you haven't picked up the demo, this is one of the screens you're going to be looking at for quite some time, adjusting your equipment. The gems, instead of having instead of having elements on them, what they're basically going to do is allow for different types of passive abilities. So, gems that may have had elements on them, say like back in Dynasty Warriors 9, now not so much. Now it's more like, passively increasing the range of your attacks, boosting damage for enemies that you juggle, boosting damage, boosting the damage that you deal with parries, or my personal favorite, offensive recovery.
Offensive recovery. Tell me more.
So, in short, for every 100 enemies you beat, you get health back. That's the Wellspring gem.
So it rewards you for.
Now, that's getting into the weeds a little bit. That's getting into the more technical stuff. Let me just go ahead and start us off. Just literally start us off from the basics. The first weapon that you get when you start this game, the weapon that your wanderer specializes in at the start, is going to be your basic one-handed sword. Now, one thing that the previous games didn't give you the chance to do is basically step into the theater of the mind and test your gear. Now, just like they were saying earlier, controls, pretty straightforward. You got your movement, you got your jumps, you've got your standard attacks, mash square, you get cool combos, right? Square with triangle, you get your cool combo finishers, which as you level up your proficiency with each weapon, you earn more passive abilities, but also more special abilities, which you can hook up to any of the 4 face buttons when pressed in conjunction with R1. You've got your basic defense.
Cool.
But here's the thing. In previous games, you could just guard. Or you could maybe have a sidestep or a dodge, right? But a couple of things that they added to Dynasty Warriors Origins that you definitely want to keep an eye out for.
My man Chang's ducking you.
Come on, do something. Do something.
Come on, chase me.
That was cool. That was sick.
Full evasion. Not just sidestepping, but actual evasion and perfect evading as well. But also, for any incoming attacks,
parries.
Exactly. And the parry timing is very, very tight.
I think I was reading somewhere. Maybe it could have been a post on X, but it was like the producer of this game was really, really looking to make a Star Wars or Lord of the Rings Dynasty Warriors.
Wait, really was looking to make a what?
They were like, we're hoping to do a Star Wars or Lord of the Rings Dynasty Warriors.
Yes.
And I know, and I remember you were talking about a Star Wars one of this, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes some of the, because I think we were talking about some of our like hypotheticals, and like something like this combat style, or like setup, like game setup, but take some of the combat from Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor. That same kind of thing where there's parries, there's a little more one-on-one, but still the ability to kind of go Battlefront where you can run around and hack and slash. So it kind of has that vibe for me. Like it focuses on the like person to person like combat a little bit more, like caring about like the like individual battle while still having the big battle like rumble feel.
Yeah.
Right. And this is definitely one of the biggest differences between this and the older Dynasty Warriors games. The simple fact that there's more of a balance as far as the focus on the personal duels as opposed to just fighting on a battlefield, and just like being in the fog of war.
Okay.
One of the other things that this game actually, really brings to the forefront is actively participating in, the larger tactical aspects of battlefield action as well. Like literally joining up with other officers. Once you see someone, once you see a call out, as someone saying, okay, we'll wait here for the perfect moment to strike. You run up, you link up with them, you can start an ambush, or you can start a raid right then and there. And doing stuff like that, fighting alongside your allies, participating in tactical movements really does have a real-time effect on the overall balance of morale between the two forces.
Definitely
So,
a lot more detail than the traditional Dynasty Warriors game.
yep, a lot more detail. Now that we've covered all that, though, here's a few tips, to again help you hit the ground running. For starters, make sure you keep your finger on the L1, because you're blocking and you're parrying, especially when you get into like dealing with some of the greater general battles that you deal with near the end of each chapter. There's going to be instances where you won't be able to evade, so you just need to be ready to block or parry. But the instances where you won't be able to block but need to evade, it's going to be pretty obvious. But again, always be mindful of your defensive options, because that's going to help you avoid damage, and that's going to help you dish out more. Literally, your defense is going to be part of your DPS.
Wow. I would have never
Case in
considered
point.
that back in the day. Defense in Dynasty Warriors, that's offensive.
Right?
My only defense is my large health pool.
Yeah.
Well, considering it's not just that you can take part in, massive tactical operations, but everything that you can do, they can do as well. And that includes parrying, that includes tactical formations, that includes, different kinds of special attacks, which could leave you, on fire, for example.
I'm just thinking of like Dong Zhuo saying like, it's like, we're gonna stop you. We have an army, and he's like, we have Lu Bu.
Speaking of, before I get too far off into the weeds, but I will say this: the characterization, like the way the characters are written in Dynasty Warriors Origins, is startlingly multifaceted now.
Yeah, they're not just extreme caricatures of the way that they used to be. I think
Exactly.
what I've noticed briefly from what I was watching your stream was that they made a more down to earth version of all the characters, but still you can still recognize them though.
Right, like case in point, Dong Zhuo. He's not the greasy meatball anymore. He's not fat bastard anymore. He's closer to Kingpin.
Get in my empire.
Yikes.
But yeah, that right there is basically going to be your rookies field level, your rookies entry level field training guide to Dynasty Warriors Origins.
So give us the takeaway. So what are the top 3 things that you're going to look out for?
Here's the takeaway. Firstly, the flowchart will only carry you so far. Square and triangle, it's a good start, but make sure you keep that trigger finger hovering over L1, because you're going to need your defense. Second takeaway, enjoy the surroundings as they are presented, because the game is surprisingly massive, even just from the first chapter. Like, first chapter, I spent like 5
probably 10.
7 hours
yeah,
just in the first chapter.
That's good. Value.
Value. There's plenty of value to be had. Third takeaway, keep an eye out for the random encounters. Keep an eye out for the skirmishes. Take those chances to grind, build up your resources, collect weapons, build that proficiency, because building proficiency with each weapon will not only unlock more specials, but it'll also increase your rank, which will increase your stats. So your character progression is tied to how high you have your weapons leveled.
Okay, the weapon thing is a thing. Got it. Weapon level is a thing.
Yeah, the weapons are definitely a thing. As you see right here with your rank. My overall rank is 21, but that is literally based on, it's based on the proficiency that I've got here with each of these weapons.
Awesome. Anything else?
Not every weapon operates the same.
I sure hope not.
So it's not just going to be, mash square and then hit triangle. Because that's how it is with the sword. You've got your classic Dynasty Warriors gameplay with just the sword.
And I see 4 more empty slots down there.
Mm-hmm. But if you go into something like, say, the spear, then yeah, you've got your long attack strings, but then you've got counters. And you've got counters as part of your special attack repertoire, not just, your parries.
So the weapons are the characters in this game.
Yep. The weapons are the characters in this game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's a good way to put it. Not to downplay Lu Bu, but
Oh no,
his halberd is really what the main character is. The Sky Piercer.
But yeah, no, that's actually a very good way to put it. So lesson 1. The flowchart will only carry you so far. Lesson 2. Defense is as much a part of your DPS as offense. Lesson 3. The weapons are the characters in this game. Like if you're looking for, hard numbers as far as progression in the game, look to your weapons.
And that, folks. Sorry, you got more?
And with
Muso, the Muso master here,
it never ends.
Going. Yeah,
right. But I was
dumb
just about
question.
To say, with that, next episode of the tech, we'll probably pick one of the other weapons, and I'll show you how it differentiates from the sword. But for now, stick with the basics, get in there, and have fun.
So I appreciate the breakdown, the tech, absolutely. For people kind of on the fence about this, and I know like reviews are out there and stuff, like, do you think this definitely deserves the reviews it's getting? Because it's getting good reviews. I'm just wondering, as someone who's like, I used to play a lot of these games, I'm hearing this stuff about it, say what you will about the state reviews and stuff. Like, does Origins live up to that hype, in your opinion? To me, that's part of the tech. Like, you break down this great stuff. Is it worth it?
From what I've played of it, absolutely. I said this on stream as I was playing it yesterday. You know how Maximilian, when he saw that Final Fantasy VII was being remade, just a lot of the emotion, a lot of the reaction, a lot of the memory, the memories that came from him as he was telling his story and how Final Fantasy VII was like a gaming timestamp in his life. Dynasty Warriors is my Final Fantasy VII. And Origins got the same reaction out of me as Remake got out of Max. Like, this is a game where I will literally buy 2 more copies. One of them so I can give to my brother who got me into the games in the first place.
Yeah.
One thing I will say as well, like, just because I've only done a surface level on this, just because I know you're going to talk about it, I was going to follow you about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing, like, have you beaten the story campaign?
I have not beaten the story campaign yet.
So I hear some really cool things about the New Game Plus in this, that this game does. It's very different. So as you get to the end of that game, and so you start breaking this down for us, I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. Just, keep me in the know. I'd appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I'll keep you all posted. But yeah, lesson over.
All right. There you go. All right. Well, yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tech. Expect more of that down the road there for a variety of different games. So, but right now, Origins is what's hot, right? And Blazing Ace Nelson's here to serve. So, we got it covered. Yeah, we still got a few more things to cover here. Not a lot, but I like to kind of just talk about what we're playing these days. And right now, like I said, for myself, I'm doing the A to Z Gaming Challenge, and I was hopefully you guys are doing some sort of like gaming resolution as well, whether it's your own A to Z Gaming Challenge, or if you're looking to kind of like have some resolutions. There's a game that you specifically want to beat this year, right? But if you are new to the channel and if you don't know what the A to Z Gaming Challenge is, I am playing video games that start with each letter. 26 titles this year. I'm already down 3. So I played Aliens Dark Descent. And for B, I played the Batman the Telltale series, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed for what it was. And coming up pretty soon here, I'll be my next game is Trek to Yomi. So that's spoilers for you guys. That's my next game that I'll be covering. We will. I guess let me grab the list for you guys, but I won't be playing the games in any specific order. I will jump around the letters as we see fit. But I know there's a lot of games on this list that people have been kind of like, man, you should be playing this game. I don't know why you haven't played it yet. And one of them is Mass Effect. So I figured I should throw that on there this year. And I kind of want to, kind of just skim through all the other ones because I want to put a lot of time in Mass Effect. So if you're interested in what that list looks like, that's on the stream right there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun as someone in your group of friends because I'm part of that group that keeps asking you why you haven't played Mass Effect. Um, I'm one of those weirdos that has the helmet and the signed copies. I love Mass Effect, so yeah, I'll be interested to see your take on it and the kind of discussions that can spring from that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm already excited to tell you about like this is what I chose in that situation, right? Because we always want that, like, like why did you do that? Like and
Yeah,
like your viewpoint on it. So I totally get that. But yeah, real quick here from A to Z. Let's starting with A. Aliens: Dark Descent, Batman Telltale series, Crash Bandicoot 4, Doom, the 2013 release.
Mhm.
Um, Eiyuden Chronicle, which is the spiritual successor to Suikoden, Freedom Wars, Gears Tactics, Hyper Light Drifter, I Am Setsuna, Judgment, Knight's Tale, a King Arthur story, Lost Judgment, Spider Man, a Marvel Spider Man. I don't know why I put that in M. Should have been an S. But Mass Effect, the Neo collection, and for Neo, it's not going to be like a full playthrough. Like I just like I want to try it out and how it's different from Souls games,
Mhm.
from software games. Okami HD is on there. Pacific Drive. I just kind of wanted to change the pace a little bit. And I heard this game was kind of like creepy and different. Q was a little bit hard, but Quantum Break I've never played before, and I've been kind of wanting to get into more Xbox games this year. River City Girls because I like beat 'em ups and I haven't played it yet. Trek,
great game.
yeah, Trek to Yomi is there. UFO 50 is on there. We're gonna check that
Nice.
out. Yep. V for vampire or vampire. And the funny part is for W I chose werewolf, which is hilarious. I think right after vampire,
Save those for
for Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Diego said Xenocrisis is awesome, so I'm looking forward to playing that. Just waiting for it to go on sale. And for Y, Yuppie Psycho. Apparently, it's like a really dark horror game, but in like the way of pixel art. So it's a very interesting mix. And for Z is Zombie Night Terror, which apparently is Lemmings, but the Lemmings are zombies.
What?
yeah. I
So
remember you telling us about that before.
yeah, so I'm excited to play that. And just compiling this list, and I was doing this on stream. I was like, man, I haven't played a lot of these games, but yet I still played a lot of games last year, which
Yeah,
is to put into perspective. There's always something to play. You never should be bored. There's always something you can throw in there and discover something new. And I'm actively trying to go out this year to play games that I've not really kind of like stared in that direction. But here I am, and you may noticed Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake are not on this list because that is a totally separate thing. that I've been trying to tell stream for the last 4 years that I wanted to play those games, and I think I'm ready this year, and I think I'm going to be emotionally mature to conquer Final Fantasy
Wow.
remake. Yeah, I've been avoiding it like the plague. It's yeah, it's gonna be a hot mess, and I'm probably gonna take like some days off to play those games directly and focus on those games.
Well, I mean, like just because we're on the topic of it, I know that our first podcast of the year, we kind of talked a little bit about the year before and kind of like looking forward to the new one. What was your big game of last year? Because there was a lot of like big titles that released last year.
Oh my
Like
gosh!
that's one of the reasons my backlog is kind of large right now. Is just this last year.
I feel that. My
Big
big
game
game
for
for
last year. Go ahead, Mace.
my big game for last year, Armored Core 6.
It's pretty big. Pretty big.
Like that was the big one for me.
Man, my memory is so trash. I have to look back at my my Twitch
Like-
stream.
Right?
Uh,
Grand Blue Relink was actually more of a surprise because even though I had been keeping an eye on it, it wasn't registering on my radar as hard as Armored Core 6 was. But I remember how hyped I was for like seeing some of the trailers, and it was actually talking with Chop that actually maybe decide, what, I think I'll go ahead and give the game another look. Sit down, bought it, played it, loved the hell out of that game.
That's interesting because I'm now looking back into it. There wasn't a game where I was like just in shock and awe. But I've been consistently playing it, and I would say like if we were to gauge this on amount of hours spent, big game, right? Because I can't think of any emotional, impactful game. I was like, dude, this game was my game for 2024, right? I would say, you know what? No, I take that back. There is one game that I just remember. I think the best game I played last year was Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I remember you got into that a little bit later.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like right around summer and leading into fall, and I was just so amazed of like, wow, this is a PS4 game, right? And this game looks better than some PS5 games. And the amount of care and detail like they put into this game, honoring like the source material, I was like, I am impressed, right? So when we're talking about setting the precedents and industry standards, like artistically, I'm like, this is it, man. Assassin's Creed or Shadows is in trouble. Like this is like, why would here? But the thing that always come up in my head lately is there's so many games out. Why wouldn't I be playing this if I have this over that game?
Right? For a lot of people, Assassin's Creed Shadows would be basically, we got Ghost of Tsushima at home.
yeah, and that's not fair to Assassin's Creed Shadows because it has its own world and it's got its own,
which
I
forgot to mention as well during our articles thing. It got delayed again. It's out in March.
Yes, and I was just telling to Ace while you were out for the brief moment is that I hope they made a good choice to push it back, not because it was threatened by another release, but they're actually polishing it up, making it good. And they're not forcing people on crunch. Like, hopefully that's changed. And
hopefully,
yeah. And
we may not know until 5 years from now when the news comes out.
And that's what I mean about like industry standards and changing those things.
Yeah.
I want that to change. I'm okay with games coming out later because there are so many games to play. Make them good. Take your time. And I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you, shareholders. It's your fault. It's not Dev's fault. It's your fault. You're like, we need to get this game out Q3 for profits. It's your fault. So people like me that invest in these companies, it's my fault. So that's me. My bad. But just to be just disclosure, I don't have any stock in Ubisoft, so keep that in mind. But yes, that is my A to Z game challenge. I would love to hear everybody's challenge for this year. If they're going to do something, if they want to play a special game that they've been reserving for this whole time, put it in chat, share it on Discord, share it on X, wherever you want to chat with us. Hopefully here now, since because you're here. But if you ever want to share those things with us, we'd love to hear from them, and we can bring it up on the show if you'd like. So. Now, with that said, you two, do you guys have any resolutions for gaming related? Like, you want to play something specific this year?
I know Ace really wanted Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Well,
I
you
remember
got
that
it
was from
already.
Johnny. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. He's hitting that resolution like straight away. He's good to go.
I'm actually still really I'm actually really hopeful for the rest of this year because I mean, between this and Freedom Wars Remastered, if those two games are going to be setting the tone for 2025, I'd say we've got some good stuff around the corner.
I'm ready for the last announcement for the Final Fantasy series, the rebirth or whatever you want to call it, resurrection, right?
Maybe reunion.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a reunion, honestly, right? Remake, rebirth, reunion. I think it's perfect. I'm ready for that emotionally, and I think this is why I wanted to play it because I have this feeling that it'll be there. I also want to play 16. You know, that's a lot of time because those are time sync games, right? But my priority is Mass Effect. Honestly, like it's been enough of a long time, and I want to get excited for that new one that's coming out, right? Because I'm looking forward to that. I want these games to be good. Like I want them. I want more people to be excited for them again. Because right now we're in a part in the industry where like, man, a lot of these titles the legacy titles we played are getting more disappointing. So I
Yeah.
want them to be good.
Speaking of legacy titles, though, just I mean, even outside of the obvious that I'm playing right now, really, my focus for 2025 is going to be, just not only rebuilding my collection, but actually playing, even if it's just sitting down for like a little bit, each day, just sitting down and actually playing through my backlog. And I was telling Andre about this earlier on stream, but if you look at your backlog, not necessarily as something to clear, but something to take your time with, you'll find that you'll actually have that much more fun playing through all the older games that you picked up and haven't had the chance to play through yet. Just shift that mindset. Instead of trying to force yourself to play through everything, just find something you haven't played in a while, find something you haven't beaten, and just play it for the sake of playing it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, like I said, if you shouldn't have to put yourself through hell to finish a game, and I know some of you guys in chat are platinum hunters, right? You have total control of that, guys. If you want to take a break from it, come back later. I understand. I platinum Dynasty Warriors 7. It was rough because
Oh,
one of the silver trophies was to get everybody to level 35 or
oh
50.
my God! You
I was like, and there's so many characters, right? And I was like, why am I even doing this? I'm not even having fun anymore.
Some of you all have never platinumed a Yakuza game, and it shows.
Oh, hey, yeah, and I got the meme right here. I got the. I believe you, man. I believe you.
I've never had to learn something like mahjong before just to get
Oh God,
achievements in a game
that game
right.
until
teaches you
that
mahjong.
series.
That's pretty cool, actually.
You have to like win. You have to beat certain people. You have to get certain scores like to get these trophies in order to platinum that. And that's just an example of one of the many of litany of side things in that game that you have to do in order to platinum those games. They're known as a slog for that reason. Like it
Mm.
becomes a thing like trying to get like 100% a Yakuza game. You will have to play, learn, and master Mahjong at some point.
And I'm assuming you're going against the computer, right?
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
And there's card games, like classic card games in there you have to get. The arcade games and some of them that you have to 100% or high score. Like it's
Or the
it's
side quests
intense.
like business management.
Man,
Oh
that's the
God.
easy ones. Those are like that and the Cabaret Club are 100% my favorite like sub things in those games, like side stuff to do because they're
Mhm.
so much fun. But then you go and do like the mahjong, or in some cases, like
Then you go.
not just the karaoke, but like the live chat with steamy girls kind of thing you have to do. Just like some of the most embarrassing stuff that you have to do it to 100% it. So like it gets down to that point, like how dedicated are you to getting these platinums?
All right, man. Like I said, another great year for gaming. The year just started. We're in the second week of it. There's already a lot of stuff lined up. You guys, Ace has got Freedom Wars and Dynasty Warriors keeping them busy. I'm grinding through my A to Z list, right? Trying to get that as soon as possible. You're grinding through Metaphor. That's a job in its own. So
Yeah, you're telling me, and I made the mistake of looking up a guide to like 100% just to see, because sometimes I like to look at that to see like, okay, on this day you need to do this to 100% it. I'm like behind by a month already and I just started the game. It's like, great, I guess I'll just wait for New Game Plus. So at 150 hours I may get close to 100%ing it.
All right. Well, I wish you guys luck. Before we close out for today, any takeaways from tonight's stream, chat, co-hosts? Anything for us? You guys, you want to share?
Hey, I actually really dig the format that we got here. Like actually, kind of breaking everything up into, I guess, the different specialties that we have.
Yeah, and that's like I said, the podcast and stream is always on the go. It's dynamic, right? And we like what if we want to change things up, we'll do that. And actually, I wanted to do this before we last words before we end up for tonight. So, kind of wanted to hear your takeaways or anything looking forward to for 2025.
I mean, there's a lot of games that I'm looking forward to getting release dates for.
Yeah,
That's what I'm looking forward to. Give me the release date for Fable.
yeah, and
Give
like
me some hope again to turn on my Xbox.
this year, man, I am like Phantom Blade Zeroing it up. Like I want that. That is my game. That is that Dynasty Warriors Origins for James this year is Phantom Blade Zero. Give me a time, right? But
Mhm.
hopefully it's soon, better than later. And also, Souls Lost aside, whatever happened to that game? I've been wanting to play that.
I think I actually saw some news that it might be getting released this year.
Okay, well I'll take that for now, and yeah, I'll end it with this. So let me get this queued up. If you guys are familiar with the track, let me know. Can you guys hear it?
No.
Mm-mm.
No? Maybe I'll turn it up. Give me a sec here. It's loud in my ears. No? Can't hear it?
I can hear it out of your headphones, like,
Oh,
slightly.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
So you guys
so
weren't hearing
yeah,
any of
yeah.
the stuff that I was
No,
playing today?
no.
Oh man, that's
Yeah, you're
that's
just playing it for yourself, so you're
that's
having the best
unfortunate,
you're
dude.
having the best damn stream.
I'm
You're
having
just
a
out here.
good time tonight.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can fix it. This is kind of important to what I got to say.
Hopefully you can play the womp womp noise, because that's all we're gonna be hearing.
Right. Yeah. Wah, wah. All right. I can probably fix this right now. Can you guys hear it?
No.
No, nothing.
So my takeaways from
Yeah.
this stream, uh, audio problems,
Yeah.
slide problems.
Lots of those.
We've had a couple weeks.
Well, here's the thing. I had to fix my 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 audio settings. You guys can hear that either, right?
Nope.
Okay. So I had to fix my audio settings because Elgato, for some reason, and there's no fix for it whatsoever. They released a patch for the Wavelink app, and for some reason, it broke one of their features. And the guy at Elgato was like, "Just roll it back." And I was like, "That was his answer." And I was like, "What the heck?
Wow.
That's not an answer,
Really?
bro. What are you talking about?" Yeah, I wasn't a
Last
fan of
stream, by the
that
way,
answer.
what I'm looking forward to in this new year is Replaced. I cannot wait for that. That's a game that should have released like 3 years ago that we're still waiting for.
Okay. Which one's that one? Replaced?
That's the one that's that cyberpunk side-scrolling, um, kind of like a cinematic platformer with pixel art and like free flow action.
Oh, you sold me a pixel art, dude.
But it's also
Um,
it's set. The reason I'm really interested is because this was released during the resurrection of Cyberpunk 2077 and cyberpunk stuff coming back into the mainstream. But it's set in that dystopian alternative 1980s. So it's got this really atmospheric feel, despite the fact it's like this pixel art cinematic kind of thing. It's awesome. If you watch the reveal trailer for it, it's still is
Speaking of like
incredible.
dystopian alternate histories, that reminds me of one other game that I'm trying to keep an eye on. What you call it? It was Showa American Story.
oh yeah, that
Yeah.
game's wild. That game's crazy. It reminds me of pirate like a pirate Yakuza, whatever it
Mhm.
is. But like, what is it? Alternate future America if Japan won World War II,
Yep.
I think. Yeah, that's a crazy story. Like for them to take that like topic is pretty wild. All right, I figured it out. I'm gonna play it here for now. I'll figure out this audio later. But here's the theme. If it plays.
Oh no, no! Don't do this,
All right.
Don't do
Appreciate
this
you
to me,
guys
man.
as always. And just like that, another episode of the Academy comes to a close. Tonight, we traveled through gaming history, explored the hottest news, mastered the battlefield with Dynasty Warriors Origins, and even took another step into the A to Z Gaming Challenge of 2025. But what makes nights like this truly special isn't just the games we talked about, it's the community we've built together. And that's you, our listeners, our viewers, our fellow gamers, who reminded us why we play. Video games have this incredible power to connect us, to challenge us, and to inspire us to dream bigger, push harder, and to find joy in the journey no matter the difficulty level. Remember, gaming isn't just about winning. It's about learning, exploring, and sometimes failing spectacularly before getting back up and trying again. That's what Dark Souls is all about. That's just a lesson for the screen. It's a lesson for life. Whether you're battling it out in a game or facing a challenge in the real world, know that every experience helps you and levels you up. Now, as you log off tonight, I want you to take a moment to appreciate your wins, big or small, and to remember that your story, just like every great game, is one worth playing. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep chasing those high scores in everything you do. From all of us here at the Academy, my co-host Nick, the tragically elite and always insightful Blazing Ace Nelson, and myself, thank you for letting us be a part of your journey tonight and keeping the dream alive, and keep gaming and keep leveling up. Until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Gaming Academy. Y'all have a good night.
Class
Thank you.
dismissed.